Good day, my friends. Let's start off with something that I don't know if you're going to be ready for this, but I'm going to try it. Why do you think people have such a hard time grasping what is occurring in the real world? What do you think is the reason? Because invariably, I see that what we have here, for the most part, is somebody not grasping what is happening in the real world. And why do you think that is? I want you to think about this question and just think. Don't put down an answer just to say something. You know, a lot of people who are keeping track at home don't answer just to answer. It's very easy sometimes to do this. It's kind of tough. It's tough because there's no thinking involved with a lot of things, especially when it comes to social media. You just react and then you worry about it. But you have to say something. Because I don't think people really understand what is happening in the world today. And I don't think they're able to really grasp it. I don't think people understand it. I don't think people follow it. I don't think people... There was an incredible article this week, a revelation regarding Seymour Hersh as to Nord Stream 2. One of the most important issues there is, anybody covering it? No. Is it interesting to people? I don't think so. Why? Too complicated. Too complicated. It doesn't lend itself to the usual kind of hyperactivity. It doesn't lend itself to this stuff. I don't know why. I was trying to explain realism in terms of foreign policy. Forget it. TikTok this week was in the subject of things, and everybody went crazy over TikTok. But if you bring up Twitter, they don't understand it. Why? Well, I don't know. And then you start talking about what happens when you start going from China to the Chinese. You see that difference? Do you see that? China wants to rule the world. China wants to, whatever it is, China. The Chinese. You notice anything? You see anything? Notice any slight difference in that? I do. Big time. It's like when you start talking about people versus the country. When you start talking about, for example, Israel versus the Jews. It's like, wait a minute, hold it. Wait a minute. Not everybody in Israel is a Jew. It's just, you mean the country? And it starts shifting. And people miss this. And when you say this is xenophobia, Russophobia to an extent, and people have known that since the days of Frank Capra, since the days of propaganda, since the days of all of these things, they knew how this thing works. And you're not going to hear anybody discussing it because there is no room for long-term discussion. I'm fascinated by it. And on my private channel at Lionel Legal, I go into this. And it's incredible. Some people get it, some people don't. You have to look at the way people react, almost like you're advertising. Like, why does some advertising work and some doesn't? Why do some gas stations work on this corner but not on that corner? Why is this? Why do you pull yourself into certain things? I heard people the other day saying stuff about TikTok. And they said TikTok is gathering data. It's like, well, everybody else is as well. Yeah, but TikTok it's part of China. They want to control the world. Well, we want to control the world. We do control the world. At least we'd like to think. Yeah, okay, well, so that's not the argument. The fact that China wants to control the world, right? That's not it. Right? Is that the issue? Well, why? Realism shows you this is exactly what we believe China is trying to do. This is what realism says. Everybody wants to be in charge of everything. No hard feelings. Understand how this thing works. Let me ask you one question, and I asked the other day. Did TikTok ever have meetings daily or weekly, whatever, with American law enforcement and intelligence and CDC to throttle people, perhaps, as the Twitter files allege, who dared to utter comments contrary to CDC protocols regarding COVID? Anybody? No. They didn't do that. Does that seem to come up? So what happens is you start building up the scrum that turns into the mob, that turns into the pitchfork and torch crowd, and then they start going. You see it with Trump, you see it with Biden, you see it with, and I see it all the time. It just takes a little bit of push to get people going. Just a little bit. It doesn't matter. The Alvin Bragg commentary is off the rails, detached and clueless as to what's going on. Off the rails. I'm trying to deal with friends of mine who are Trump fans. I said, you do know Trump's got some very serious problems in the other 5 legal matters, criminal, civil, some. I don't know, because it's us and them, Yankees and Red Sox. You understand this? This is the thing which is so. I'm thinking. I don't think people understand this. I don't think people truly understand what's going on, or can follow it, or have the ability to challenge things. They don't. To challenge that which is considered understood. I mentioned before, I'm fascinated by Eric Weinstein, who was quite the contrarian, quite the maverick, who was going after string theorists, up to and including Ed Witten and Brian Greene and Michio Kaku and the usual suspects. Absolutely fascinating. Daring to go after these people, and because it confronts orthodoxy, people there won't listen to him. Because we all know string theory is it, because the people that we like Brian Greene, and he's very nice, and Michio Kaku, I like him. Yeah, that's it. That's as far as we go, and we will accept this. What about Darwin? Oh, absolutely, Darwin is. What about Galertner? What about Berlinski? I don't know who you're talking about. But Darwin is it. Darwin is natural selection. Oh, really? So intelligent design is out of the question. Oh, absolutely. In my circle, we don't think that. Do you know about natural selection? I mean, natural selection versus Darwinian mechanics versus intelligent design? No. But I know that we reject it, because in my group, we reject it. Then you get the biblical group who accepts everything biblically, because in their group, that's the way they think. That's the way they see. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? Nobody's listening to what's being said. They're just saying, what group am I in? Am I in this group? Is this a good group to be in? This is a good group, right? Okay. This group's okay then. I'll stay in this group. We're doing all right. In this group. Okay. Terrific. Excellent. That's just groovy. Wonderful. All right, good. No critical thinking. None. There's no. Because the first thing you have to do, the very first thing you have to do, is get rid of and destroy. The first thing to go after is convention. The first thing. Now, are you familiar with Seymour Hersh? Do you know what Seymour Hersh did? You know who Seymour Hersh is? Seymour Hersh, among other things, was responsible for My Lai. He wasn't responsible for My Lai. He investigated, I should say. He investigated My Lai. Do you remember this? Yes. He was responsible for My Lai, for discovering My Lai, for... okay, you got it? Okay, good. Now, how does this thing work? Well, it works kind of like this. Let me explain. One of the things which is, I think, to me, the most fascinating of fascinating things is how do I say this? Is what happens to humans' sense of morality. And this is something which is really, really interesting for me. You have people, and I'm throwing a lot of subjects at you, and I want you to understand right off the bat, this may be problematic. You may say to yourself, I'm not following this, and I recognize it. I'm not really, I don't know where we're going with this. Well, and I understand this, and I recognize it, and I'm not at all offended by it. In fact, I've come to kind of expect it because talk about the usual stuff. The usual. I don't want to talk about trans athletes and why it's unfair for a woman or a man who's trans to be competing against people. I'm so tired of that. So monumentally tired of that. So tired. Aren't you? Don't you come to a point where you say, you know what? I've heard enough about this. I got it. There's other stuff to discuss. Can we? Can we talk about this? The Seymour Hersh part, which I found so interesting, which kind of blends into this criminal justice thing, because you have to understand how criminals work, is there were a bunch of people in the United States whose names were, they just had names like Jerry and Eddie, and they were from different parts of the world. They were from, I don't know. They were from Ohio. And they went to the Vietnam War. And they did. They went to Vietnam. They went to the Vietnam War. They went there. And they did things that absolutely blew people away in terms of the sheer savagery of My Lai or Pink, Village Pink, or whatever it's called that. And they went there. And they came back, many of them. Some were troubled, some weren't. And they were loving people, families, good. They were just from a very innocent time. They had hot rods and they liked girls and they went to serve their country. And just like they were involved in what can only be described as sheer and unmitigated savagery. Savagery. Truly incredible. Truly, truly, truly incredible. How it happened. I mean, I could not believe what I was seeing. Okay. How do you think that makes people change? How do people change like that? Are you capable of that? How is it that people, the real issue is not My Lai. How is it that we can turn on people like that? Goes back to what I said about TikTok. Listen to what we're saying. The Chinese. Are the Chinese involved with it? Well, they're not. I mean, the Chinese government, CCP. Okay, but that's not what you're saying. And the more dissimilar people look and sound and act from mainstream and Main Street USA, the easier it is for us to kind of distance them. They're different. Russia, China, saw it in World War II. And nothing ever exemplified this more than how we treated the Japanese. Oh my God. Incredible. So right now you're being thrown so much information. Criminals, Russia, China, trans, conservatives, Trump, and you're being asked to differentiate and place all of these people in the correct order. How do you place them in order? How do you deal with all this? And what happens is you get involved in these social media scrums and you lose all connection to reality because nobody wants to talk to you. You have people who come forward who love to pretend and give you the impression that you are being provided with something that is a philosophical constant and some kind of a basis for the. Jordan Peterson, by the way, is very good at being able to convince you that I'm going to give you the truth. And by the way, with all due respect to him, he's doing gangbusters. I'm just talking about the product, not him. I don't know who he is. I mean, I've never met him. But if you listen to what he is, it's not about the message. It's about the act. What is my act? I'm trying to provide you with something that you consider to be profound. You are so desperately looking for profundity. You want it so much. You look for it in religion, in faith, in music, in YouTube, in political parties, in buttons, in sloganeering. You want there to believe something. You really, really do. And you don't understand what's going on. And every day you wake up, you try to kid yourself and, oh, this is great. No, you don't. You don't recognize this. It is scary. It is really, really scary. And you're scared. You don't know what's happening here. None of this stuff makes any sense to you. None of this makes any sense. I mean, seriously. You don't recognize your country. You don't recognize your world. You don't recognize any of this. This is the scariest stuff you have seen. And you're just talking, just typing, I'm in charge. No, I get what's going on. No, you don't. Because it is coming from someplace else. It's not the people here that are controlling it. It's from elsewhere. And you keep looking to your local officials and the usual suspects, but they're not the ones doing this. It's from elsewhere. It's like we're in a fishbowl. We're in a fishbowl, and I'm looking at you, and I don't know anything but this fishbowl, but there is something above us that keeps dropping things in the water. I don't know where this is. Think about this. It's like another dimension. Who are these people? What is this? There's food drops out of. Oh, look, there's food floating. Where? What? Or the water is something's wrong with the water. Then all of a sudden the water's changed. Who's doing this? How does this happen? The fish would say God or fish god, some Piscean deity. I don't know. But that's kind of what you're doing. You don't know what's happening right now. None of this makes any sense. None of this. And the only thing you have, the only solace that you have, the only control is to turn to other people who agree kind of with you, and that maybe you can chant the same stuff. You can say the right things. You can enjoy a certain degree of sloganeering, which is fun. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. It's fun. Chant the same things. MAGA. Think about this. It's like a chant. It's like a phrase. We always have these phrases. In the Jesuits had AMDG, Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam. WTF. We have these. It's called a shibboleth. It's what you say to each other. It's a phrase. It's an expression that you use to kind of it shows people it's conversance in a language, in a vocabulary, in phraseology, but you don't really know what's going on right now. And nobody is providing it to you. Let me tell you what the news people do. This is very interesting. Let's go back a little bit. When casinos started, we had the one-arm bandit. There was this thing, jing, 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 jing. Nobody put any bells on it, really. Nobody really. They just sort of 3 cherries and, hey, I won. Okay, great. When they got into the casinos, they realized, this is an event. We're noticing that people do much better if we have better lights, but if we make these things loud, let's turn this machine up. I want bells. They used to have, when coins were dropped, remember you would have a big cup to put your coins in. Ooh, look great. And they'd be sitting there staring with transfixed with that look. And you would have in the bottom of this machine this stainless steel pan that when the coins dropped, it made so much noise. And they put bells and whistles. And they did everything using classical conditioning, everything you could possibly imagine, in order to get you to pay attention and to focus. It's what they did. It's what they did. It was beautiful. I mean, really, it was gorgeous how it worked. Because they realized it. And it kept you there. And it was beyond just winning the money. There were other things as well. Free drinks, get them lubed up, obviously. People, excitement, loud, lights. It was just, wow. It was the Chuck E. Cheese for, whatever. What do news people do? What does cable news? And you may laugh all you want at cable news. And you can say cable news doesn't matter. And I don't watch cable. Okay, fine. What does it have? Noise. Breaking news. Noise. Flash. Breaking. Slides. Movement. You're just sitting there. Wow. This is breaking. Everything's been breaking all day, every 5 minutes. I know, but still. Did you ever go to a carnival? I love carnivals. You have no idea. When I see a carnival, if I can, wherever I am, if I can pull over at night and see a carnival at night, I love the smell of the grease, the lights, the screams, the noise, the seediness, the food, the bags of onions and oil, and it is a cacophony of noise and sound and degenerates, and I love it. Love it. Because it comes from the carnival. The carnival, and also carnival gave us Carney, which gave us professional wrestling, Kiazarni. The work, the angle, the fight. It's all it is. And you are just lured in. And they know what to do. They know how to get you. They use words now. Slamming. Slamming is an important word right now. Fauci was slammed. President Biden was slammed. Trump was slammed. They slammed him. He was slammed. Slammed. Ooh, wow. And once a word is used, it catches on. It's like. Like was always, but like. It was like. I was like. There's so much like now because you just hear it and you will, because part of the shibboleth, you will say this. And you will say this. And you'll figure out your angle. It's beautiful. And meanwhile, the best part about it is, excuse me, the carnival's one thing, professional wrestling is another, and casinos are one thing. But news, you're missing the point. The payoff here, the jackpot, the entertainment, is the information you're getting and your ability to assimilate it and understand it. Do you grasp it? Do you grasp this? Do you understand what's happening? This is the celebration, excuse me, terrible word. This is the anniversary, so to speak. Another word that I think doesn't say this correctly, but it's the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. Are you familiar with that one? The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. March 25th, today, 1911. 1911. Do you remember this? 146 dead, 78 injured. It was in lower, I guess, where was it? I think it's around Flatiron Building. Do you remember this? This was the 9/11 of the time in this country. It was one of the most important events that ever happened. It changed everything. It was so critical. Have you ever heard of this? Do you know the significance of this? Do you know the parallel of this? Do you know how it compares to what we're seeing right now? And do you know what happened at that time? There was a movement There was a movement in the days of Charles Evans Hughes, Al Smith, when New York was really the laboratory, right around that time, but the laboratory of legislation when the word progressive meant something. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? The history of where it came from? Triangle Shirtwaist Factory was a number of women who were working. They were making clothing, and they were working treadles. And what happened was, it was a sweatshop fire, correct? But they padlocked the fire escape, because they didn't want these foreigners going out and taking smoke breaks and not working. And it was one of the most, it was horrible. I don't want to belabor the point, but Max Stoyer, one of the greatest cross-examinations in the history of American juridicature, it was just incredible. And it changed. It's when government came in and said, we have to protect people. We have to have OSHA. We have to have, safety. There was one survivor who was in a closet. She heard people banging on the door, open the door. If she opened the door, she would die. And she had to hear all of her friends screaming and then wait to hear the successive sounds dissipate as she knew they were dying. It's incredible. And it's when progressive politics and things that really made sense started to change. It was when government actually came to help. It's true, and nobody could argue against it. Nobody. Mandating fire codes, mandating escape, mandating, because people wouldn't do it because of the natural human nature. And plus, there was a xenophobia to an extent, and these people were. It was when we had the railroad, the tenement flats, and people, all these, whatever. Okay. But it was an incredible story. I promise you today there would be no coverage of this because people do not have any attention span. It's an old story from 1911. It has no relevance here. None whatsoever. Nobody cares about this. It doesn't mean anything. When I mentioned Cy Hirsch, what he's claiming regarding Nord Stream 2, nobody cares about this. Because why? Because this takes more than 20 seconds of knowledge. There's no interest in this. There's no interest. Imagine being perpetually not hungry. Be great for, you die. You would die because you wouldn't eat. But imagine if I say, how about this? No. I'm not interested. I'm not hungry. People are not hungry regarding information, knowledge. What does this mean? What's going on? Nobody has ever asked any question regarding the criminal justice system regarding Trump. Nobody cares about this. Nobody. It's never even come up. Well, what does this mean? What does this grand jury mean? What does this indictment mean? What is this? I saw something yesterday which was, I think it was Rolling Stone. I don't know if this is even true. This Rolling Stone said that somebody did talk with Trump's lawyers and said, don't worry, he's going to be found guilty and he's looking at 4 years in state prison. Wait a minute, state prison? A state prison? First time offender? What are you talking about? Who is this? No interest whatsoever. But that's the only thing that is available. On my separate channel at Lionel Legal, I mentioned two things. The legalization of marijuana, which is the worst mistake we ever made, in part, but I explain it. And also these sex crime decrim laws. And there's one I'm going to be talking about that's going on right now in Washington. It's called, you're not going to follow this, but they're going to be trying to put brothels into adult entertainment. They're going to call it now prostitution adult entertainment. Just like that. And you get these people, the libertarians. There is nothing more dangerous than a libertarian. There is nothing more libertarian. There's nothing more frightening than a libertarian or somebody who talks wonkish, free market, capitalism, whatever this stuff is. They're just disconnected from anything. I just did a brand new piece, a brand new subject on my Lionel Media private channel regarding xylazine. Xylazine is a sedative anesthetic, and it's called the zombie drug. And what we are seeing right now is we are seeing in this country a new type of drug abuse that is designed to not only not to make lethargic, but to kill people. And if I go into, let's assume that I go, how do we say this? How many remember years ago the Tylenol poisoning case? Remember the Tylenol, I'll tell you right now, Tylenol cyanide. Remember this one? There was a guy that was somewhere, the Chicago Tylenol murders. And it was, remember this one? It was this, who was the police investigation? There was the suspects, copycats, and it was, the year was 1982. Okay? And there were people that were going into and having, this is before tamper-proof and everything. People were dying from Tylenol, cyanide, boom. Now, when they did this, when this happened, nobody looked at this as the problems with acetaminophen, or are we using too many analgesics? Are drugstores no. They correctly said, this is somebody killing people through providing in the stream of commerce a substance that they know they will use, but inside they're going to change it for something else. That's what fentanyl is, not fentanyl. When you hear fentanyl, remember that. Fentanyl, Fentanyl, Benadryl, not Benadryl. They say fentanyl. I don't know why, but they do. Fentanyl and this xylazine. And what's happening is you have people, they're telling kids, don't take, any kind of an aspirin or a Tylenol if you're having any kind of dysmenorrhea or nothing. They're telling people anything that you would normally get on this street, anything, any kind of drug, do not touch it because it is being cut. Not, listen carefully, not in order to make it more potent, but to kill. In the days of Nicky Barnes and Harlem, during the days of the transition from heroin to crack, it was a big change from heroin to crack. During the days of heroin, every now and then, and you knew from the type of packaging, you knew the brand and who was, the word got out. If somebody OD'd because something was too pure, too powerful, and it wasn't always the case, but that sold immediately because of the depraved mentality of the user, that must be really good stuff that you can cut and adulterate, but that must be good because it's so powerful, people are dying. Instead of it chasing people away, listen to the mentality. That's different. This, it says, we're not trying to hook anybody or anything. We're trying to kill people. The more, the merrier. Now, as we were discussing this, the libertarians come along. And what do the libertarians say? Well, drug abuse. Oh, no, you're missing the point. We're not talking about drug laws. That's not the issue. This is that William F. Buckley. You missed the point. Thank you. Libertarians missing it completely. How about this group? Well, if people didn't use drugs in the first... Okay, thank you, law and order freaks. Thank you. You missed the point completely. That's not it. That's not it. Or you get these other people who say, well, I don't use drugs, so I don't care. Well, I don't watch cable news. That routine. And they're missing the point completely. This is sabotage. This is the deliberate... This is like counterfeiting money in a country. And the point is missed completely because everybody they don't want to spend a lot of time on it. It doesn't really affect them. And the only thing they will, if you can't show them any B-roll of zombies or something, that's all they want to see. Did you see Portland? Breaking news. Portland. Thank you, Fox News. Hey, look at this. And these people walking around. And that's what they want to see, because it's all eye candy. It's you know, I don't want to say fear porn. I don't like that term. But you know what I mean. It's got to, you're missing the point. The criminal justice system and the criminal cases, it's Byzantine. It's very interconnected, very complicated. Who's doing anything about this? Nobody. It's not about going after drug abuse. We're going after people who are deliberately introducing this all of a sudden. Most of the people would say, wait a minute, our product, our sales are going to go down if people are afraid of taking it. So therefore, it's not the actual mom and pop drug dealer who's doing this. It's other people as well. Do you follow what I'm saying? They are hurting their business. Their business is hurt by this. No, this is something else. It's coming in from the border, south of the border, from Mexico on up, and the chemicals that are being provided, either, and you can say China again. Oh, China. Nobody seems to have any real interest. Now, if they said Russia, the chemicals are coming from Russia, maybe there'd be some interest. But the point is, and please follow what I'm saying, the problem is that this falls between the cracks. It's not a drug abuse issue. It's not a libertarian issue. It's not about legalization. It's about law enforcement. It's about a deliberate influx of people, of product, of substances trying to kill people. I try to explain at Lionel Legal, my YouTube channel, which I ask you to subscribe to. I have always advocated and been for the decriminalization of marijuana possession. But there should be a law that prevents people from smoking this skunk weed in public. Just because you can do something legally doesn't mean all applications of it. You can speak so long as you don't disturb the peace at 3 o'clock in the morning on a PA system. Music is a wonderful thing so long as you don't play it too loud, at a party. Alcohol is legal, but disorderly intoxication isn't. DUI isn't. So there's always a way of expanding upon something that transcends and goes beyond the mere application of the initial delivery system and intention of the thing. So you can say, okay, fine. You want to smoke whatever it is. I don't care. Don't give it to kids. Don't drive it under the influence. But why do I have to smell this? I'm sick of the smell. The smell is becoming toxic. The smell is not like cigarettes. It's not like anything else. It hangs in your clothes, and it makes more people violently ill. What you want to do to your body is your business. I'm just telling you this. Try explaining this, because you get the stoner mentality, and they don't understand. They don't understand, maybe because of the fact that they're stoned. I have no idea. So you have these gradations, these slivers, these variations that people are not able to grasp. And I don't know what to do about it. Now, let me tell you a couple of things that you can do something about. First, in order for you to get a great night's sleep, you need great sleep kit, as the Brits would say. And that is why My Pillow, promo code Lionel, is at mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Look at what they have. Look at the ingenuity, the genius of applying almost state-of-the-art technology to temperature-controlled pillows, bedwear, sleepwear. Look at My Pillow 2.0. Look at it, or you can call 800-645-4965 and see for yourself how quick they answer that. That's my favorite. It is the fastest answer you can ever imagine. As we talk about different variations of things that could confront and destroy our way of living, how about an EMP attack? An electromagnetic pulse. What is that, pray tell? Look at this link right here. And by the way, if you're listening to this on a YouTube or a phone, please go and check out this channel and see for yourself how you can protect your home, your RV, your telephones, your devices, your solar panel, your ham radio, everything in the event of an electromagnetic pulse, some coronal Carrington class or worse nightmare that you have to deal with. Now also, remember, as more and more people talk about food, you notice how we're not talking that much about egg prices. And what about this? Okay. Whenever I go and I see people at God bless them, in these big factory warehouse stores, I think, in the event there's something that goes wrong, where are all these people going to go? Where are they going to go if they need food and now? So preparewithlionel.com is still the best means by which you can enjoy a 3-month supply, save $250 on a 3-month supply per person for emergency food. And I'm not talking about something like something in a vacuum sealed bag, some MRE that we're talking about delicious, wholesome, toothsome, edible victuals and viands and wonderful concoctions. Go to preparewithlionel.com. Look at this. Look and see for yourself how great this is. And finally, I say this right now. You know and I know when it comes to staying healthy, or trying to stay healthy, your immune system and keeping yourself fortified with the essentials makes the most sense. And since you're not eating correctly, and you know you're not, since you are not availing yourself of the necessary phytonutrients and bioavailable phytonutrients and the like, Z-Stack right here with a beautiful 15% discount for you and your kids. This one little elixir I think is terrific. Vitamin C, zinc, D3, which is monster hormone, not even a vitamin. And of course, quercetin, a flavonoid, a bioflavonoid, an antioxidant that neutralizes and grabs those pesky free radicals which are involved in everything from disease to aging to name it. It's that simple. Read the research yourself. Use it, Z-Stack. Use my link right there. Go on it and save some money. So, my friends, I stopped listening to a lot of these. I just can't. I was listening to a wonderful lecture on Charles Evans Hughes. I love more history. I love like I told you, Eric Weinstein. I like so much. I like the fact, God bless him. I mean, he's boring as hell, but there's Lex Friedman, who was just terrific with Weinstein and others, and Kurzweil and Gertzel and even Joe Rogan on science, and it makes me think good. Joe Rogan, to his credit, I love when he shows astonishment over an issue. When he really, if he gets away from this childish nonsense, there really is a mind there. He has it. He has a real sense of wonder and an incredible grasp of the fundamentals, the rudiments, the gravamen. It's more interesting than anything you'll see on these studio audience attempts at ratings, because this thing is just done. It's done. We need more long form, more thorough investigations. And I have been absolutely, positively disgusted with how my legal profession does nothing in trying to help people know more and understand what's happening. I think we could be doing a lot more to explain arraignments, grand juries, the burden of proof, and that sort of thing. So let's see what happens with that. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Don't forget to follow, please, follow my other beauteous, gorgeous, wonderful, fascinating, alternative, if you will, YouTube channel at Lionel Legal. Lionel Legal. Did you hear that? Lionel Legal. Let me give you this link right here. And also, I need your help and I need your assistance. Mrs. L is absolutely doing the best work of her life. Do you hear what I'm saying? The best work of her life. And I want you to go right now to follow her at Lynn's Warriors. You have no idea how many people look to her, follow her, steal from her. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's Lynn's Warriors on Twitter. Lynn's, Lynns _warriors. It would mean so much to us, but you'll learn so much, because when you get involved and immersed in what's happening to children, you won't be able to sleep at night. All right, my friends, you have a great and a glorious night. Thank you so much for your interest and your input and your fascination with the obvious. See you tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.